From the Front Range of the Rocky Mountains in beautiful Colorado, it is Saturday, October 10th, 2020, and this is Truly News. I am your host, Jason Van Sickle. I hope that you had a good week and that your week has started off well. As you go through your day to day, here is a thought to consider. No one is better than you, and you are not better than anyone else. Almost all religions in many countries are founded on the doctrine that all people are created equal. We do have a social system of inequality, but that does not mean that anyone, based on any characteristic, should be seen as having a lesser inherent value than anyone else. So, as we go through life, we should work to believe in our own self-worth while respecting the value of others. Well, something to think about as you go through your day today. For now, let's get smarter and better informed by taking a look at today's news. As always, we start with a look at the top headlines from across the country. From National Public Radio, a judge has ruled against the Texas governor's decision to limit drop-off ballot sites to one per county. After the governor's announcement, the League of United Latin American Citizens sued to get the drop-off limit reversed, and a federal judge ruled on Friday in their favor. The judge blocked the plan, saying that it put too much of a burden on older and disabled citizens. From the Los Angeles Times, the second presidential debate has been canceled after Trump refused to do a virtual debate while recovering from COVID, so the next and final debate will take place on October 22nd. In the meantime, Trump says that he will resume his campaign travel plans. From the Wall Street Journal, Hurricane Delta has made landfall in Louisiana after weakening to a tropical storm. The storm reached Louisiana on Friday evening. Even though it had weakened to a tropical storm, it brought powerful winds and flooding to an area that is still recovering from Hurricane Laura, which hit the area in August. From the New York Times, in records obtained by the New York Times, Trump taxes seem to show that he engineered a large financial windfall for himself during the 2016 campaign. Tax records show that Trump received more than $21 million in sudden and unusual payments from a Las Vegas hotel that he owns with Phil Ruffin. The money flowed in a series of transactions that went through several Trump companies before ending up as direct payments to Trump himself. And finally, in our look at the top headlines, here are the stories that are crossing the wire at Reuters News. 6 men arrested on suspicion of taking part in a plot by armed extremists to kidnap Michigan's governor have been arraigned in domestic terrorism and weapons charges, while a 7th awaits extradition from South Carolina. And the other headline from Reuters is, President Trump said on Friday he would like to see a bigger coronavirus stimulus package than either Democrats or Republicans are offering, and is now proposing a plan of over $1 trillion after previously calling off negotiations and saying that he would not approve anything before the election. And those are your top headlines for the day. To put us all in a better mood after those headlines, we now present our top 5 joke countdown. As usual, bringing us the countdown is my friend Billy Cunningham. Billy is a comedian who goes by the stage name Potbelly. And here's Billy.
Thank you, Jason. This is Billy Potbelly Cunningham. By the way, for those of you who live in the Pensacola, Florida area, on October 16th, I will be performing at the Floating Biscuit Pet Friendly Pool and Comedy Club. I hope to see you there. Now, on to our jokes. I am being handed the jokes for today by my intern, Penny. She gets these jokes from Reader's Digest, and as an up-and-coming comedian, she often tries to rewrite a few to make them even funnier. And looking here at our joke cards, it looks like our category today is relationship jokes. Oh, baby. Here we go. Okay, number 5. This first card says, my wife keeps telling me that I'm the cheapest person she has ever met in her life, but I'm not buying it. Oh, okay. Didn't have much time to work on that one, did you, Penny? Oh, let's see. Let's try this next one. I had a crush on a girl in the 3rd grade. Eventually, I concluded she had only learned 4 of her 5 vowels. The reason? She didn't seem to know that I existed. Oh, boy. Did you get that one from Reader's Digest or from your nephew? God. Really? All right. Moving on. Number 3. I was really hurt the other day to find out that my wife thinks I don't respect her privacy. Now, I just need to figure out how to bring the issue up because I read it in her diary. That's a little better. Yeah, I like that. That one's okay. Number 2. My wife recently dragged me to a couples therapist. The first question that the therapist asked was, so, what brings you here today? My wife said, it's really difficult to talk to him because he takes things so literally. The therapist then looked at me and asked, what brought you here today? I replied, my truck. Yeah, that's funny. That actually sounds like me. Oh, and your number 1 relationship joke of the day. My wife was recently pregnant, and she went into labor in the middle of the night. In a panic, I called the doctor who had given us his cell phone number. When he answered, I said, my wife is going into labor. What should I do? He replied, is this her first child? Confused, I said, no, dummy, this is her husband. Yeah, that actually happened to me. Oh, well, those are your jokes for today. I'm glad we had a little time together this morning, and I look forward to hearing you listen to me again tomorrow. In the meantime, be kind to others, be good to yourself, and keep on smiling. This is Billy Potbelly Cunningham signing off. Over and out. There you have it, folks. Billy and his top 5 countdown. Thanks, Billy. And now we return to the news. From the world of science and technology, Popular Mechanics reports the Pentagon is partnering with Elon Musk's SpaceX to explore the possibility of sending cargo via space rockets. When the military needs to send supplies to troops around the world, the process takes a long time to put into action. Ships take days, and planes even take hours. However, the military wants to see if supplies can be delivered in minutes using rockets like the ones that resupply the space station. There are a lot of hurdles to overcome to make such a plan possible, but the Pentagon and SpaceX both seem interested in exploring the possibility. Also, in science and technology news, from NASA, the newest rover to land on Mars will reach the planet on February 18th, 2021. When it arrives, one of its most important missions will be to look below the planet's surface because it will be the first rover to be equipped with ground-penetrating radar. Its radar system can scan structures below the surface up to 30 feet and create images that will allow scientists to make 3D models of the subsurface. One of the primary goals of the mission is to search for signs of microbial life. And our final article from Science and Technology News, Popular Science reports Amazon's futuristic electric delivery vans will hit the road in 2021.
While Amazon has drummed up plenty of hype for its small-scale drone delivery planes, the company announced something much more tangible this week. Starting in 2021, some Amazon delivery drivers will sit behind the wheel of state-of-the-art electric trucks. The company plans to ultimately deploy 100,000 of the vehicles by 2030. And those are your science and technology headlines for today. In health news, the New York Times reports White House blocked CDC from requiring masks on public transportation. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention drafted a sweeping order last month requiring all passengers and employees to wear masks on all forms of public and commercial transportation in the United States, but it was blocked by the White House, according to two federal health officials. The order would have been the toughest federal mandate to date aimed at curbing the spread of the coronavirus. The officials said that it was drafted under the agency's quarantine powers and that it had support of the Secretary of Health and Human Services. But the White House Coronavirus Task Force, led by Vice President Pence, declined to even discuss it. From NBC News, COVID has begun affecting animal populations. A number of cases of animals having the coronavirus have already been reported, but an outbreak of coronavirus at a Utah farm could be the largest. Nearly 10,000 minks at a fur farm have died of COVID-19 since the animals began to test positive for the virus in August. The positive tests in the animal population began shortly after the workers at the farm tested positive. And that is your health news for today. Now we take another break from the headlines for today's Words of Wisdom. To present this segment is Dr. Albert Feinstein, one of my philosophy professors from college. And here is Dr. Feinstein.
Thank you, Mr. Van Sickle. Hello, and welcome to today's Words of Wisdom. Today's Words of Wisdom are from the Greek author and philosopher Aesop. And it is he who said, "Appearances are often deceiving." This saying has many meanings, so let's focus today on its meaning related to people. A person's exterior is merely a shell. The true nature lies within. It is within a person's thoughts, emotions, personality, and values. You cannot predict who someone is simply by looking at them. So, require yourself to really know someone before you respect them or care about them. Otherwise, you will often be deceived by appearances and disappointed in your relationships. And those are your words of wisdom for today. Back to you, Jason.
Thank you, Dr. Feinstein, for those wise words of wisdom. We now return to our review of today's news. In entertainment news, we start with new movies, and today's movie is The Curse of Audrey Earnshaw, starring Hannah Emily Anderson, Catherine Walker, and Jared Abramson. This movie falls into the categories of drama, horror, and mystery. And the description from IMDb says, "A devout community suffering from a plague is torn apart by a beautiful young woman and the forces of witchcraft, black magic, and possession." The Curse of Audrey Earnshaw is now available for rent on YouTube. Moving on, we look at newly released shows, and today's show is The Right Stuff. This drama series stars Patrick Adams, Jake McDorman, and Colin O'Donoghue, and the description from IMDb says, U.S. fighter pilots are recruited to test experimental aircraft and rockets to become the first Mercury astronauts. This is a TV adaptation of Tom Wolfe's book, The Right Stuff. The Right Stuff is now available on Disney+. Finally, in our entertainment news, we take a look at newly published books. And our book for today is The Return by Nicholas Sparks. This is presently #1 on the New York Times fiction bestseller list. Here is a summary of the book from Amazon.com. In the romantic tradition of Dear John, author Nicholas Sparks returns with the story of an injured Navy doctor and two women whose secrets will change the course of his life. Trevor Benson never intended to move back to New Bern, North Carolina, but when a mortar blast outside the hospital where he was working sent him home from Afghanistan with devastating injuries, the dilapidated cabin he'd inherited from his grandfather seemed as good a place to regroup as any. Tending to his grandfather's beloved beehives, Trevor isn't prepared to fall in love with a local, yet from their very first encounter, Trevor feels a connection with Deputy Sheriff Natalie Masterson that he can't ignore. But even as she seems to reciprocate his feelings, she remains frustratingly distant, making Trevor wonder what she is hiding. The Return is now available in print at your local bookstore, and it is also available in print, Kindle, and audiobook formats on Amazon.com. And that concludes our entertainment news for the day. As always, we end our broadcast with a look at what we call Happy News. And here is your Happy News story for the day. This story comes from Stamford, Michigan. When a historic flood hit the area several months ago, the home that Penny Taylor had lived in for 55 years, since she was just a little girl, was destroyed. When the Stamford Dam failed and flooded the area, Penny was able to escape, but all that she was able to save was her dog Bugsy and one container filled with family photos. When she returned, she found a house that would need to be completely gutted, and most of her belongings were destroyed. Without flood insurance or any money to repair her home, things did not look good for Penny's future. However, when word began to spread of Penny's situation, the community rallied and came together to lend her a helping hand. Now, Penny has a newly renovated home that is beyond anything that she could have imagined. In addition to the newly renovated bedroom and bathroom, the house also features a beautiful new kitchen with state-of-the-art stainless steel appliances. Local businesses donated all of those appliances, and they also donated all of the materials needed to renovate Penny's house. And it was the volunteer efforts of many throughout the community who did the work. It did not cost Penny anything. And even Bugsy came out ahead. He now has his own little custom doghouse next to Penny's rocking chair on the front porch. And that is your news for October 10th, 2020. Have a great day.